Alright, testing 1, 2, 3. Let's see how this goes. Hello, my little illustrators. My name is Iris Can Illustrate, and I am glad to announce that this is my first ever live stream. And today, this live stream is basically going to be the process of me drawing Lucifer from Hazbin Hotel. Yes, I promised this probably like maybe 5 weeks ago, but I'm going to tell you right now, as every artist probably can agree with me, I am a procrastinator, but not just any procrastinator. I do other art on the side to like say, hey, I'm going to get me into this drawing, but I really don't feel like doing this drawing. Instead, I'll just do another drawing, and then I never get to it. So today you guys are going to actually see me do the process of this while also using a new art supply that I got, Ohuhu's acrylic markers. They're now on a Ohuhu store. They're really nice markers. They have this bullet nib and then they have a fine tip, which is going to definitely help me with the highlights and eyes and stuff. And maybe in another video I can do keychains, because there's a recent game that came out called Indigo Park, and there's this character I really like that I wish they do merch for. His name is Finley, and I have been really obsessed with it when the game came out, which actually it's probably been like 3 days? 3 days. So to start off with the live stream, I'm going to start a poll about what the first step in this drawing should be. And I'm sorry that it's a little bit difficult for me because this is like my first live stream and I'm doing this on my phone. Now, typically other artists will do line art first, but I'm thinking of starting with colors, as not only do I have a paint pen, basically all my lines are already on here and line art can be used last. That way it doesn't get covered up by the colors itself. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab my kneaded eraser here, and I'm just going to lighten these lines. That way they're not exactly visible, but they're still there. Now, I do pre-draw my drawings because, to be honest, as much as I would love to draw this on the stream, I typically like having my drawings preset because I go through like a lot of trial and error, especially with this pose, and I'm not exactly happy with this face, but it could be the size that I also made him into. And that's a lot about art. As much as I like to say that I'm a very talented artist, even I have my skill sets where I'm not strong, especially when it comes to animals. And I'm trying to go on a journey to like not only like expand my art style, but to also like expand my knowledge on said art. And typically, I have actually learned a lot of stuff because I've been teaching myself color theory again. And what people don't really know about color theory is it's actually really important for an artist. Now, people can argue that maybe it's not that really important, but I would probably say otherwise. Wrong side. Because color theory not only can it help you like with shading and stuff, but it can also like help you just like understand like what colors you need and like what would help you, because when I see people draw like realism and stuff, they don't exactly use like actual skin tones, which I do have from a hoo-hoos, and I feel like they do really help if you're like a cartoonist artist, like if you just only use flat colors, or just beginner artists who are just trying to understand but don't exactly know how to mix colors and don't want to waste your inks and stuff to like make said color, which I completely understand because I'm like that at the moment, because I do use my skin colors, but I also use a mixture of other colors which help me. And with markers, unlike acrylic paints or watercolors or oil paints like the masters use, markers are a little more, they're not as opaque as them, so they don't exactly mix well. They do blend, however, which I do take advantage of. And basically, what I learn is you just gotta like practice with your art style. Even look at other artists. I'm probably my probably like favorite artist out there is Drawing with Waffles, because not only have they taught me how to like make my own art style out of like looking at people I was inspired by, like Alex Hirsch, Dana Terrence, I think his name was Matt, the person that created Wander Over Yonder. Now that's an art style that is so interesting that it's just phenomenal. And my art style is a mixture of all those, because not only do I like the fluidity of Wander Over Yonder, but it is also important to learn anatomy, because if you actually study, like it really goes a long way, because you have your torso, you have your head, you have your hip bone. And it's like people could argue that they could skip that step, and I was one of those people, but honestly, it helped out a lot when I started studying anatomy more. And I think my art has come like a long way. If you guys are also noticing, I'm going like a certain light pattern because I'm thinking my light is over here, so it helps me contrast where the shadows are going to be. And this helps me out a lot because it's very easy to get lost in your work if you don't understand the concept of lighting, because then you have like shadows everywhere that don't actually stay consistent. Another fun fact too is I actually pre set up my markers and color pencils and stuff because it is actually really helpful to look at a reference photo and just see what you're doing. Now, here's a little fun fact. Instead of shading in a darker color, actually go on the opposite of the color wheel because that helps bring it out more. And of course, this marker is going dry, so I get to demonstrate on how I refill these markers. If I can grab it. Now, I like Ohuhu's because right now they have these refillables and they're surprisingly cheap, only $6.99. The only downfall is when it comes to shipping, it gets really costly. So this one refill cost $11.99. However, I do use this color a lot, so it really doesn't bother me, especially when it comes to doing the art I do, because not only do I use this color for shading and stuff, my persona is actually this color. And this is like a really good shade of purple, and I really do love it. And yeah, it's pretty much how I refill my markers. Of course, I wouldn't normally hold this over my sketchbook just in case if like any ink spills, but to just demonstrate on how I refill them, of course, I will make that sacrifice for y'all. And just like that, look how new that looks. It looks like a new marker. Now, typically in my videos, if you actually do notice, yes, I do the line art first, but that's mainly for video appeal. But this is actually how I draw. Just laying out my colors. Now, if you notice, I used the same color as I did with this color, but now it's darker. And it's such a nicer shade too, because not only does it keep the contrast of this color instead of just going dark, it really helps. Hi, Rio! Anyways, now I'm going to get to the darker shade. Now, a good thing too, right now my screen is off on the other side of the room, which is not good for me, but I do recommend having references out for when you are doing drawings like this because Lucifer has like such a distinct design, and sometimes my brain doesn't comprehend the styles. Like if I were to draw on the top of my head, I'm pretty sure his shirt is red and white stripes, but I could be wrong. And that's why it's always important to have like a reference out when you're like drawing fan art and stuff, because I like staying accurate to the show and stuff, especially when it takes a lot of practice to stay in the art style. Now, if you notice, I like keeping my pens consistent because you want to like have a flat color. In order to get that, you want to go in one direction. Which is funny because I'm pretty sure teachers would tell you, oh, you need to do cross hatching and stuff. Not with alcohol markers, no. If you're graphite or ballpoint pen artist, shout out to the ballpoint pen artists because I think their art is like amazing. And every time I mess with a ballpoint pen, I don't know how you guys do it, but it's phenomenal. Anyways, if you notice, I like to stay consistent, keep it flat, because this is a cartoon drawing, so it needs to look like it's in a cartoon. Okay, now that we're getting deeper in the drawing, you're probably noticing that I'm not exactly... I just realized I did this in the wrong spot, but that's okay. We make mistakes like that. It's gonna be fine. I mean, not for my perfectionist side, no. It's screaming. But, fun fact, I know these buttons are gold, but if you actually probably look in the cartoon, you can tell they're a shade of yellow that are shaded in a certain way. There is a way to get like a gold looking base, and it takes like different shades of yellow, because what it is, it's more of like cell shading, and basically it's basically shading in a way where it makes it look like it's a different material. To probably get to know me, um, I am technically a young artist. I have been drawing since I was a kid. I am barely age 21, but the misconception of young artists is they're very talented, or like they're very like skilled at a very young age, like Picasso. But in reality, young artists are people who are learning to draw. So if you're going on like TikTok and then YouTube, you're probably seeing all these like amazing people and going, oh, I wish I can draw like that. And you grab a piece of paper and then you actually draw, but then people are ridiculed. Don't listen to them. Just don't. I've had teachers and stuff tell me that my art isn't real art, and they're looking for like their next Picasso, when in reality it's like handwriting, learning your ABCs. It's technique. Because I can tell you right now, my handwriting is horrible. Like absolutely horrendous, because my brain is focusing more on shapes and colors than it is on actual handwriting, because that's how my brain processes. I don't process with actual words. I process with like images and stuff. And I have always had, even in my old elementary stuff, my handwriting would be the most horrendous thing you would see a second grader produce. But right next to it, you would just see these little doodle drawings of like what the thing means. Like, does anyone remember when we were like learning nouns and stuff, and they would tell you to like demonstrate what the is? Well, I would demonstrate by drawing. Yes, I do agree with Rio here. If I drew Duck Daddy more often, I would remember him. But let's face it, I don't draw like more than one character. I think the only time I do that is probably if I really like them. And as much as I do like Lucifer, I think my favorite characters in Hazbin Hotel are probably Husk, Angel Dust, Carmilla, Egg Boys, and Serpentious. Cause I feel like Hazbin Hotel, and this might be Amazon's fault. Let's face it. I've seen Fallout, and it's phenomenal. But it's like nearly 2 hours each episode, yet Hazbin Hotel only gets 15 minutes. Now, I do understand the differences between those two mediums, is because animation is much more hardworking, you need a bigger team, and it's all the processes. Like, not only do you need your rough animators, you need your line art, you need your cleanup, you need your voice actors, you need your storyboard artists, you need your script writers, and then the storyboard artists got to agree with the script writers, but the storyboard artists can also take their own fling at the script, because storyboard artists are supposed to like animate frame by frame and like tell the story by then. And then the animators take a look at that, take out what they need, and then they start animating. But the animating doesn't start with all the colors and stuff like everyone assumes. No, animating starts with like a sketch. Sometimes people even do paper animation still, and then they digitalize it. And I think the biggest misconception of animating is probably the idea that it's easy, when in reality it's like, hell, I have maybe like 1 or 2 animations coming out, but they're not going to be out probably by, hell, I don't even think they're going to be out by June, and I'm planning on doing a Pride Month special for June. Animating is just really hard, and what I do is mainly animatics, which is like an animated version of a storyboard, which are really fun to do, because I feel like you can go no wrong, like still images and stuff, because let's face it, if you're like online, you see those animation memes and stuff, and Narami is a really good, I don't know if I pronounced that name wrong. Narami is a really good example of that, because she just basically like tells stories of her life, but you can tell they're not fully animated, but they're like animatics. And that stuff really does inspire me, because I feel like animatics are so much easier to work with, because they're not exactly finished and stuff, and you don't really need a background and stuff. And you see lines in the background, but they're mainly for perspective. Okay, I really do like this paint pen, but I can tell it's really streaky. I usually use a color pencil when I draw white on this tan paper, but I kid you not, these are like so expensive. So if I can avoid it, I will. And maybe I might just use the white on his face, but as for his suit and stuff, sacrifices can be made. Because I can tell right now the tone paper is not having fun with this, Because look at the bubbling, and this is the risk of trying new art supplies with paper you have not tested it on yet. Because you don't know how it's going to react, which is why I recommend when you get a sketchbook, just take one paper out of it and just put all your markers or paints and stuff and see how the paper handles it. Because I can tell you right now, those artists that you're seeing that are doing those amazing like videos and stuff, they have good paper. Like really good paper. And this paper is really good, and I'm pretty sure it is supposed to be mixed media, but I don't think it's supposed to handle like really wet media, like watercolors and stuff. This is like meant for like color paper, not color paper, blah 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 blah, color pencils and like markers and stuff. Like, now you're probably also wondering why I'm using tan paper and not the usual white paper. It's simple. Surprisingly, if you actually use a different canvas, um, it will actually look really different. Because if you were to ask a painter what colored canvas they will, I'm pretty sure not all of them are going to say white. In fact, I hear some actually paint their canvases gray, like a gray gesso, because the color pops out more. And the reason this does this is because of the paper contrast. And I'm sorry, I know you guys are commenting in the thing right now, but like I said, the phone is like above my eye level, and I'm like focusing on like talking and drawing right now, that I have to lift my neck to see what you guys are saying to me. And it's good to see that you guys are really interactive with this. Good question. It's probably because Prismacolor is like a big corporation that existed in the 30s. Yeah, fun fact, if you've noticed, the people that are like really like expensive are the people that have existed the longest, and the people that are like coming out now, like Ohuhus, like I'm pretty sure Ohuhus have been around since after I got out of middle school, so 2016? Maybe 2016. But yeah, that's really interesting to think, because you would think that the people who've been here longer would make their stuff cheaper, when in reality, it actually gets more expensive. And this is why I like looking up like new art supplies, because I think we've just gotten to a point where Copics and Prismacolors aren't gonna cut it no more because of their price range. Now, granted, you can find Prismacolors for cheap if you know where to look. But I do know, and this is really interesting, apparently there's not a Michaels in like certain countries. So you can't really get discounts and stuff. And sometimes I think it just depends on like where people are. Like specifically, I don't have a Blick Art. Like people are like talking about like going to this place called Blick Art. Like I know it's online because my school has sent me a thing from Blick Art. And I'm just gonna tell you right now, if you're in an art school right now and they're telling you to buy supplies from somewhere, look somewhere else. There are way cheaper options out there that can help you go through school. Now, granted, when it comes to charcoal, yeah, I do recommend actually getting the General's charcoal, but don't stick to what they give you. There are so many cheaper options, and tuition's already expensive enough. This goes to actually any student. If your school's telling you to buy these like expensive books and stuff, don't buy everything they tell you to get. Get a cheap calculator, get a cheap notebook. It's gonna they're gonna work the same. Now, granted, the reason why I get these expensive sketchbooks is because they've actually proven to be helpful with my art supplies, because let's face it, I don't want to be using my marker and then a hole happens in the middle of my drawing because the paper got too wet. And I think that's like really important for like people who like go out and like buy art, because I actually like have some friends. Now, granted, one of them is a digital artist, but I know that they are like planning on getting into like buying sketchbooks and stuff. And a thing I probably recommended them is, I don't think it matters where they get their sketchbook. It just depends on what medium they're going for. So like if you're getting graphite, go for a sketchbook that's like for graphite. Yes, pirate the schools. No, that's illegal. Very illegal. Please don't. Um as much as like people are joking about pirating their movies and now and stuff, now granted, I did buy a school book off of Amazon, which was way cheaper than I would buy from the library. And they're not actually opposed to that. But that might be because I'm online. But I had a journalism class and I had to get a specific book. Granted, they allowed me to have time to get it because my Amazon package got delayed. But they did allow me to buy it from Amazon instead of their library. So I do recommend actually talking to your teachers and seeing if you can find it cheaper, because you can always find a school book that is cheaper than what it is at the library. But that is only if you get your teacher's permission. Because I think I bought this book and I think we only did like 5 chapters of it, and it's like a 30 chapter book. And my mom has also like bought these books from her college, and she still has them. Granted, I do look through them time to time again because they are about like business etiquette and stuff, like how to like settle copyright and stuff, which is really important for an artist. But definitely important. See if you can buy your book somewhere else. And that's basically like my top thing about school, is I feel like the education system is getting too expensive. But there are shortcuts if you're willing to like work for those shortcuts. And granted, those people that do know how to pirate movies, I applaud to you, because I don't think I would know which sites to actually go on without getting a virus on my TV or my computer, depending on where I plan on watching the show. Because I will admit, um, right now I don't have Netflix personally, but there's like so many Netflix shows I wish I can like rewatch over and over again. Like, if anyone knows She-Ra, the Princess of Power, um yeah, that one's like a really good one. And I remember watching the 2020 finale. It just hit COVID, but it was Pride Month, and me and my siblings are sitting on my bed watching the finale. We're all crying and like, because it's gonna say goodbye. We're still waiting on that She-Ra movie. Yeah, I hope that comes out soon, DreamWorks. And there's just actually a lot of good shows that I cannot get a hold of at the moment, and it sucks. And I'm just casually putting white paint all over my lid because I'm putting it on backwards, which is a habit I do have if I'm not concentrating fully. on like what I'm doing, and let's face it, everyone has done that where they're trying to put their pen in their lid and they're like doing it backwards. Okay, so I'm letting this paint dry because I'm pretty sure I have to do a second coat. And yes, you can see I have something behind the sketchbook. I do recommend having something behind your page at all times when you're in the sketchbook because they do bleed. And yes, there are papers that are out there. They're like, oh, this doesn't bleed and stuff. And yes, they do exist. However, they are really expensive. Like, really expensive. I think the Hoo Hoo sketchbooks right now are selling for. The bound ones are selling for $19, but the spiral ones are selling for $18 right now. But again, that's like really expensive if you're like a very young artist who has to ask your parents to get them the supplies. Um Now you're probably wondering, yes, I am going to go over this with color pencil. So you're probably wondering, why am I doing marker first? And this might actually be interesting, but it actually helps the color pencil pop out because not only is the color of the color pencil already underneath it, but it helps me use less color pencil because if I like sit here, like if you notice with the white one, I'll just like sit there and try to make it pop out. But if I use like the color pencils, I don't have to put in that much effort into them. And it really helps out a lot. See, now what I'm going to experiment here might ruin my color pencil, or it might ruin the paper. Who knows? We might actually lose this drawing in the street. But I am going to try to use the white color pencil on the paint to see if it like cleans it up a bit. But we're gonna wait till this dries. Like, it is already dry, but I don't want to risk it. So we're gonna wait on that. What I am going to work on though is the face right now and his hat. And I'm actually going to show you guys how I draw gold, or specifically how I learn how to draw gold. Granted, I am not really great at it. Again, I am still learning, and it's still something I am processing. But I do recommend go on Pinterest. There are so many tutorials how to do it. And they're really fun to use. Like, even if you're just like messing around and stuff. And another thing I'm learning is I did get that refill, but it looks like this fine tip is losing a lot. But if I actually go to my brush tip, it's still inked. So I don't know what's going on with the Honolulu bees. Yes, and if you do want this marker, you actually have to be specific on the site because if you just press Honolulu, you're going to get the chisel and the brush. But there's actually two versions of the Honolulus. And this one's called the Honolulu Bee, which is basically the brush and fine tip. And the reason I like to get the fine tip is because I feel like chisel does do the same thing, but because the chisel's so broad, and yes, they have made different chisel nibs that are skinnier. It's just I do not want to spend the money right now to get that when I can just get me these, which have the brush tip, which I do use a lot in my drawings. But I do like working with fine tips because it helps me get these small areas. Like, for example, I need to draw the cheeks, and I can use this to just go like that. Just so. And that's why I really like them, is because I can just like focus in like very small details. And I can see my reference, but I'm just not wearing my glasses at the moment, so I can't see the screen. And who is vibrating my Okay, if you guys are hearing vibrating, it's because my phone is like doing notifications at the moment. So apologize in advance. Okay. Okay, I know a lot of YouTubers already pointed this reference out, but people have been pointing out that actually I'm just gonna do this entire thing with this color because it will help. It's basically the same shade. But basically I noticed that YouTubers have been pointing out that Vivzy has a certain art style when it comes to depressed dads, where they have like this set hairstyle, and I noticed it too, and I find it really funny that Stolas and Lucifer have like the same hairstyle. And it's really interesting because actually it just brings up the trope of like how we portray like certain characters. Like if you remember in like the era when All Dogs Go to Heaven came out, I want to say it's the 90s, but I could be wrong. And they were portraying the villains smoking a cigar and they're all obese and with like rotted teeth. I don't know. It just brought out like a certain like phenomenon for me because it was like really intriguing that a lot of villains were being drawn in this way. And it was just so interesting to see that there were like these character designs that were happening. I just realized I did not put his cane in this drawing. Oh no. It's okay. See, in my original sketch, I did want him to hold his cane, but it looks like that in my final drawing. I did not do that. And I haven't seen this drawing in like weeks because I started on the sketch, and the reason why I haven't colored this in was because this right here, his face was not clicking with me. I wasn't sure if it was because it wasn't colored or if I did something wrong. But basically what happened was I just could not click with him for the life of me. And I would be doing other drawings, posting them on my social media, like seeing if it was me or if it was my drawing capabilities. No, I can still draw. Just for some reason, I could not color him. And I don't know what that was about and if the problem was me, but I realized the problem was that I was just not motivated. And this is a really big thing for artists is when they're not motivated, they're gonna give out. They're gonna get burnt out. So if they try to force themselves to draw something that they don't want to, they're gonna quit. And they're gonna get art block, which is like the most dangerous thing an artist can get. And I feel like I do get a lot of art block because I have like imposter syndrome where I feel like I'm not a real artist because I'm not as talented or just like successful as these artists like Jazza and stuff. But I gotta realize that they probably took years of their career to expand, and they've been posting on YouTube when I was a kid. So I have to learn that not only do I have to get my art out there, I would have to remind myself that this is my starting point and this is just how it's all gonna start. Now, what you guys are gonna realize I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna be working on different shades of gold. And how this is gonna work is I'm gonna work on a darker color, like so. And then I'm gonna get into, haha, I just realized I did the wrong yellow. Whoopsie! So basically how I fix this is I can just basically draw over here, like draw over it. And sometimes that happens. Now when the color is darker, I don't know how to exactly fix it. I would probably say paint over it, but I don't know how successful that would be. But accidents happen, and like Bob Ross says, there's happy little accidents all the time, and that's okay. And I'm learning that when I do accidents like this, I can't be mad at myself because sometimes it might be for the better. Now, as you're seeing here, I'm doing different shades of yellow, and it's going from darker to lighter. Now, I'm going to do the line art here because it's getting really hard to tell what's going on. Now, you're going to see me. Usually, I use 4 for the clothing, but because this is a detailed thing, I'm going to use 2. Now, what you're going to see here is I'm going over this. Basically, to map out what I've been drawing. And if you're noticing, it's now coming into shape, like so. I can also do the apple while I'm here. Now, I do use different line arts for my thing because I'm going to use one for the crown here too. It helps with the perspective point. The thicker the lines, the more you're going to look at it, right? So now that I'm using thinner for the crown, now try not to think about it too much. But if you just look on the hat right now, by looking at this line art, what are you noticing first? I'm actually gonna make that into a poll to see what you guys are noticing first. Like, just ignore all this, ignore this, like, just pay attention to this detail. By looking at the line art, what do you notice first? Oh, there's already an ongoing poll. But how do I shut that off? Yes, end poll. Okay. Okay. Now that poll is up. So I'm going to finish off the shirt here. Now that I looked at my reference to see what colors they were. I don't know why I was telling myself that it was a red and pink striped shirt when I know my other half of my brain was saying it was a red and white shirt, like circus. And I'm not sure if it was because I remember the shading in one of the scenes or like what was going on. Because if you remember my Alistair video, they did shift colors when they were doing the electro swing bit. And that might be what I was remembering. Okay. Now, the way I color with color pencils is you start with up and down motions, and right now it looks very see-through at the moment. And I agree with you, it does, but trust the process. If you trust the process, you'll get what you want. Now you're gonna go circular motion since this one's a little smaller. And you're gonna notice how it's gonna pop out right now. And that's what you're gonna want. And that's how I basically color with Prismacolor. So we're gonna move up to the neck. I'm gonna go sideways. Now we're gonna circular motion. Now, as you can tell, I am finishing up my drawing, which is a good thing. Now, I would probably need to finish up the markers before I even start with the Prismacolors, but I am getting to the point where we're getting to the hour marker, which is where I wanted this video to be. And yes, this is actually the real time it takes me to finish a drawing, not just talking to you guys, but this is how long it actually takes me to like color in these things. And that's not even with the line art included, because that's like a trial and error I do in a separate sketchbook to get the pose right for not only the size sketchbook, but like for basically like the dynamic posing. My editor's gonna hate me so bad because not only is he gonna have to mute my voice and stuff, but he's also gonna have to speed up the drawing and stuff.
Yeah, I will.
Oh yeah, my editor's in the background.
Thanks a fucking lot.
I love you. Uh, um, yeah, fun fact about my editor, he does have a channel, and I do recommend you check him out because he's an amazing editor, and on top of that, he's an amazing storyteller. So please check him out. His name is Alpha Buster, and he has. Hmm?
Alpha Incarnation.
Alpha Incarnation, sorry. I'm thinking of his gamer tag. Whoops.
I didn't even plan on doing this. I didn't even plan.
I know you didn't. I don't even know why you said anything.
I don't know.
Yeah, I will pretty much say this. Yes, he has been in the background this entire time. Yes, every time I said I cannot see the laptop, he will help me turn on the laptop and let me take a look at it so I can see my reference. So not only is he my editor, he's also basically my partner in this, and he has probably been my number one fan, and minus Rio. Rio is also a best friend of mine, and they're a really talented artist as well. And I would probably say that it has been really nice that they motivated me to actually start a channel. And I think the whole reason I probably started this was because my New Year's resolution was to shut the hell up and just start a channel, even if it didn't work out this well. Now, the fact that I already have 60 subscribers since January, it's actually really nice to think, because I not only does it help me do these live streams to talk about my skills and my talents and stuff, it helps me get to know what you guys want. And it's just really nice to just see that there are people out there willing to actually watch me. All right. Well, now that we're finally getting to the point, when did that blue happen? Okay, I don't know when that blue happened, but that's really concerning that it did, because if I check, I don't think I have blue in my thing. So if any of you guys can clip in the live stream and show me how that show me how that happened, please let me know. Now I am seeing the question, and I know I need to draw Andreas too, but I don't know how to draw big men. Anyways, I do notice that you guys are asking me, how do I draw my poses? It's simple. References. They're basic shapes. People are cylinders and rectangles, and I think it takes a bit to see that. So now that we're getting close to finishing the drawing, I am gonna take out my color pencils, and I'm going to try to finish this drawing with y'all. Now, the color pencils I'm going to use is definitely the white one for his face and stuff, and his hat. Also his coat with whatever streaks are there. I'm also going to use the yellows for his eyes and stuff. I'm also going to use the white for his teeth. But we're also going to try to clean up his buttons, which is also going to use the yellows, but a little bit darker. So maybe this one. So if you're wondering what tools, what colors I've been using, I will gladly shout them out at the end of the video if you want to do this drawing too. And I really do enjoy doing these drawings for the channel, even if it's not going to get popular till later. And yes, I am going to post this live stream, do not worry. I'm also going to create a playlist for every live stream I do. So don't worry, this isn't a one-time thing. You guys are going to be able to watch the video. Because I notice a lot of people immediately delete their live streams, which I don't understand why. Because it's really interesting to watch, because it kind of gives me GT Live feelings, where you get to watch the video. Now, I just realized for his little streaky right here, not only would I need neon yellow, I'm gonna have to pull out a skin color. If I can find it, here it is. Okay, now here's a really good example. This pencil needs sharpen. And the sharpeners I use are these ones because I do have graphite pencils, so I use graphite on this side, but it has a color pencil thing that helps keep the graphite out of it. And I'm getting my drawing done. This is like the sacrifices I make for you guys, because if I do this over my drawing, it's gonna make it messy, and I'm worried that if I streak it, it's gonna mess up the drawing, and that has happened once. Never gonna do again. Okay, see how sharp I like getting my color pencil? Now, when you color with a color pencil, you want to keep it on its side and like rotate it, because it actually keeps it sharpened. Now, don't worry if it does break, because you know what? You can't prevent everything. And look at that. That's the streaky yellow in his hair that you guys can all recognize. Now, I will probably do a little story time, because I know people did notice the thumbnail on the Lucifer drawing instead of like, oh, like the other ones where it's like the names of the characters. I did go with the Duck Daddy. Now, I asked my thumbnail artist, Alpha Incarnations, to make me some demo thumbnails, because I made art and took pictures and told him what type of thumbnail I wanted. And I told him to just like take a spin at it, because we're both learning how to use our art skills and stuff. I wanted to see if I liked what I made for my thumbnail thing. Now, the thing I did make is definitely going to be permanent until like maybe I can advance it another day. But it's definitely going to be one of those things where I'm probably going to reuse a drawing for a thumbnail thing, because I will tell you this, it actually took me like maybe 30 minutes to sketch out online. Like, no, I actually sketched out my thumbnail thing on a sketchbook and then put it in Ibis Paint and digitalized it. Now, that sounds really easy, but it's really not, because not only do I have to copy the line art, I also have to think about the shading. And all I did on the paper was the sketch. Now, I'm actually worried. The blue's not coming off of this, and I don't think I spilt anything on here, so I am nervous this is not going to come out. And and this happens in some drawings, not all of them, because of course I like keeping my drawings clean, but I really don't know what happened there. And sometimes I hope I can cover them up, but when I can't, I hope that no one notices them. Now, back to what I was saying about the thumbnail. Well, I had him do demo thumbnails, and one of them he decided to make into a joke thumbnail, basically like something to like be like thrown away, right? Because when you're practicing on making thumbnails, you kind of just like maybe joke around with your art and stuff. Like, we've seen those shit post art where it doesn't mean to be like a masterpiece, but then they get like 1,000 likes. Well, that's basically what happened to him. I really liked the Duck Daddy thumbnail. On top of that, when it gets shrinked in YouTube, it just literally just says daddy, and I just like was busting up laughing, because I really liked the fucking joke. And if you notice in my community post, I did joke about him being a duck daddy, because he's a little autistic for some duckies. And we just basically just agreed that we were going to definitely use that thumbnail. Now, there is another thumbnail. Maybe I will post it on what the thumbnail did look like, or I'll have him post it on his channel. That way you guys get to check it out and stuff. Um, maybe I will do maybe videos on behind the scenes and stuff, which I do know people do like secretly. Like, people don't think about it, but people do really like looking behind of artists and stuff. Let's face it, there's a video out there about Vivzy Pop's sketchbook that probably like has over 1 million views. And it's really interesting. And it's just really nice to like see that people are actually interested in other people's art. And I just hope that maybe like when you guys see this video that you guys are actually really happy to like seeing how this drawing is coming out, because not only are you kind of getting the behind the scenes of like my next speed drawing, you're actually like hearing like my take as an artist, like the skills I had to learn, how I do my art. My take on color theory, granted it's not the best color theory explanation, but there are videos out there that actually do teach you the actual correctness of color theory, so I do recommend to check them out, because let's face it, the people out there who are trying to teach other artists to do art are the real heroes in this, because I think without like YouTuber artists, other artists would be very lost. Because art school doesn't really, like, they do teach you techniques, but they don't simplify it for people who don't understand it. And I feel like more of the population is autistic nowadays, so people have like a shorter span of like attention span, yes. And I'm the same way, which is why it's taken me so long to get to this drawing. Because I get distracted with other drawings. But I am really proud of how this one's actually coming out. Now, granted, I'm not sure if I'm going to use the paint pen again. Maybe I'll put a poll in my community post to see if you guys actually liked it. And I'm just going to tell you guys right now that normally I would be listening to music when I'm doing this, but sadly, because of copyright laws, I cannot. Okay, so I finally got to the Prismacolor on the paint, and it looks like it does go on there, but it's still streaky. Not sure how to feel about that, but hey, I'm learning. So are you guys. So now that you can see these markers like on display, because I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I'm not sponsored by Ohuhu. I just really like their merchandise, because not only do I like that they have refills, I like that they're also cheap, but they're also a growing community themselves, like me. And they're learning to listen to their community, and they're learning to produce more products, which I cannot wait for when they downgrade Prismacolors. I doubt that they'll actually do that, but if other marker companies are doing color pencils, I don't see why Ohuhu can't. It would be interesting to see if they like make like bamboo pencils or something, but I don't think that's how color pencils work. But they do have like these bamboo Ohuhu shelves that are supposed to be like environment friendly. And I'm actually really interested in seeing like how their take on the like, the thing is, because the point of them making the refills for the markers is because I don't know how eco-friendly it is to dispose your markers. Now, granted, I will try disposing them at all costs, but let's face it, when you get those markers from maybe like Ross or something to like start out and then they run out of ink, you throw them away, right? Well, a lot of the oceans right now are very polluted with trash, and it's honestly really horrendous. So when you do dispose of stuff, make sure you look up how to dispose stuff correctly. You don't want to pollute the earth as much as it's already been polluted. The oil company has already done that enough. We don't need to help them. Now, if you're noticing that what's actually taking me time on my drawing is actually the Prismacolor stage, because not only is it supposed to help me clean up the drawing, it's also the fact I'm like, look how fast my pencil's going. I don't know how much longer I can keep using it, but I hope I can stretch it out a little bit longer. Don't worry, I have pencil extenders, so I will use it till it's dead. Trust me, I've already done that to some pencils. But I really like how the paint doesn't chip when I color on this, so another reason to probably invest with these paint markers is because you can stack other mediums on them. I haven't tried these with markers. Maybe in another video I will. But for right now, I'm very impressed on how this paint marker is handling this pencil. Now, granted, is it killing my pencil? Absolutely. And I'm a little upset about it, but I don't think you can have everything when it comes to art, because art is a lot of trial and error. Like here, for example, I am really upset that something got smeared up here. But other than that, it's really inspiring to just like draw. And yes, I am glad that I waited last for the line art, because not only would the line art have been covered up by the paint and the pencils and all that, it just saves me on my line art ink, because I don't think line art refillables exist yet. The reason I say yet is because people were like, oh, like Copics are the only refillable alcohol markers. And then Ahuhu came out with the refillables, and then, you know, it's like, I'm pretty sure there was a time where people were like, oh, you can't really refill alcohol markers, so yeah, not eco-friendly. Well, there are people out there who are trying to be eco-friendly, and it's really inspiring to see. Now, as you're seeing now, doing the finish touch-ups. I do wish it wasn't this streaky, but sometimes this happens, so I don't know if I'm going to use paint markers again. Maybe I might have to add a second coat. Who knows? But again, this is my trial and error. Just like how I wasn't really inspired to do Lucifer at all because of like how I didn't like his face look. Now I like it, so it might have been just the color thing, because now he's starting to look like himself. And if you're wondering why my sketchbook isn't like moving around, I did tape it down because I noticed in a lot of my drawings my sketchbook does move. And I didn't want that for my first live stream, so I trialed and errored on like how to keep my sketchbook still. And so I just put some paint tape on the bottom of my sketchbook to keep it in place. And so far it's been working. And I'm really happy that it's come like this far. Okay, now that I'm coming to finishing this off, I will be taking questions on what you guys want me to do. So if you guys have any questions, please write them in the comments and I'll check them out. Oof. I might have went too dark for these ones, but I think I have a lighter purple I might have to grab. And this is another thing you have to test your pencils is because sometimes you kind of just, again, it's a lot of trial and error. Actually, I can finally teach you how I actually blend my Prismacolors. I just do this. You don't actually use the blender, you actually use the white pencil. Now, granted, it lightens it up, but I think if you go over with the same pencils, it makes it not only lighter, but smoother. So, let me try that. I'm actually going to do this instead. Yeah, there it goes. Now it's lighter. Now it's the color I want. And look how smooth that eyelid is now. And this is why I avoided the line art, because look at the black marker I added on the eyebrows. It's already covered up by white and purple. So, yeah, that's definitely a reason why you want to avoid line art first. Is because you're going to see your line art later when you finish it. I just realized I almost forgot to do this. Now, I do use a lighter gray to darken the other gray because you don't want it too dark, but if you want it like a certain shade like this, it gets the job done. So instead of darkening it with more darker colors, go over with a lighter color because it does darken it. Just like so. Okay. As we're finally finishing up, because now we're finally in the line art scale, I am happy to say that this drawing is officially going to be done. So, we're grabbing the 4. And if you're noticing, I'm trying to draw with not exactly my wrist, but kind of like with my arm. Now, granted, I am drawing with my wrist here, but save yourself from wrist pain. It's better to draw with your arm than your wrist. I just realized we almost forgot the collar. That's fine. We can just do this. There we go. Now, when you do notice mistakes like that, don't panic. It's not too late to fix them. Now, if you also notice, the bow tie is black, but the reason why I use grays was because you can't really see black when you do the outlines. So it's better to go with like a dark shade of gray that looks close to black. Because that helps out so much. Now, what I use for the body is actually one. And if you're wondering why I make how it looks thick in later videos, is I actually borderline it with a 6 fine liner. That way the entire image looks like the main focus. Okay, you're probably noticing that my line art is getting a little, like, disorientated. How I easily fix this is see if it's not dry, just draw another piece of pad or something. See if like something stuck to it because like I said, I have been drawing on Prismacolor and paint and sometimes wax and paint gets stuck on that nib. So don't panic if you think your nib's going dry. Just go to another piece of paper and just try to doodle the wax out of it because See how it's like trying so hard to like not draw on it? That's because your wax is messing with the nib. I don't know if this ink is actually running out or no, there it goes. I have been using these for a while. Okay. Maybe I just need to use a different one. That's okay. This happens. I'll just use my 0051. There it goes. Um, for hair, I use 3. It's under. It's under clothing, but a little bit thicker than skin. Alright, before we call this drawing done, I'm going to use 2 on the gloves, and then I'm going to use 6 on the outer line. And then I'm going to sign my drawing because it is important for people to know that this is my drawing. Granted, the character does belong to VisiPop, but because this is my fan drawing, I don't want anyone to try to claim that they made this specific drawing. No, but please go to VisiPop's channel and give her all the love and stuff because she worked really hard for that series. I think she did a phenomenal job. So yeah, please support the creator of this character because I think she came a really long way. Okay. Actually, instead of using my line art, I'll probably actually use my black pen from a hoo-hoo. Maybe it'll look better. Oh yeah, that's a very thick boy. Gotta be careful though, I can't really control how this nib draws, so don't want to go too into the drawing because then I might cover up my work. Like so. These might be like my new favorite thing to draw with now because they are just like so good. And best part about these, they don't actually have a scent. Like you don't smell paint from where I'm sitting. Like there's no strong acrylic paint smell to them. So I really like that. It helps me stay focused on my drawing rather than being repulsed by the paint. I'm going to use the fine point for this area. Actually, I'm going to darken his eyelids a bit. Eyebrows. Okie dokie, there he is. And to final it off, I'm actually going to start signing inside the drawing now, just in case. Actually, fix that heart. There he is, and he's finally finished. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream and learned a lot about me. And I hope that you guys are actually anticipating for probably the next one. I am probably gonna do some Indigo Park fan art. On top of that, I did promise one of my viewers that I'm gonna try drawing Death from Puss in Boots, and maybe if you guys want to see more DreamWorks drawings, you can give me a comment in one of my videos, or you can just ask me in my community posts when I ask like what drawings I should do. Maybe I'll even do community posts on like what genre studio I should focus on next. In the meantime, stay illustrating, my little illustrators. Hope to see you guys next time. Bye!